listening to Bare Naked Bravery. My name is Emily Ann Peterson, and I'm host of the show. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I also am a creative consultant and marketing business strategist, that kind of thing. And this is our little podcast community, and I'm so glad that you're listening to this week's show. I actually have a soapbox I want to get on today. Specifically, I have a friend, August McLaughlin. She is the founder of Girl Boner Radio, which is a fantastic podcast if you're into feminist, sexual health, all that good stuff. And I highly recommend her show. She's really great. She and I are buddies on Instagram, and she posted this quote by Brené Brown the other day, and I wanted to read it and also share how I disagree with Brené Brown, which is like blowing my mind that I actually disagree with Brené Brown, or at least this quote. And I don't, based on the quote, I don't know where this quote was taken out of, so I don't have any context, but it does provide a really great diving board for some good New Year's conversation. So before we jump into it, let us do a little bit of some announcement time. We always do this with Peep Show episodes. So Peep Show episodes are very plainly a peek behind the curtain of the kind of bravery and things that I am encountering on a personal day-to-day basis. This subject definitely qualifies, both personally and also with all of my clients that I deal with on a daily and weekly basis. And it's stuff that I know we're all dealing with in regard to the new year. So before we get into all of that, the big announcement that I've got this week is really just one big time. Number one is the book is launching January 28th, and we could not be more excited about it. So excited. If you would like a free copy of the book, you can go to my website and just download. It's really hard to miss. I mean, as long as you're listening to this before January 28th, it will be really hard for you to miss this little sign-up form to get on the list to receive a free copy of the book when it is free on Amazon. So if you get on that list, then I'll let everybody know that the book is free, because it will be free for only 3 days. The ebook will be free for 3 days. All the other formats, audiobook, hardback, paperback, those will still be for sale, obviously, but the ebook will be free for 3 days and then go up by $1 each day after those 3 days are up. So I'm really excited about it. If you want a free copy, that's how you can get it. So sign up on the list, go to emilyannpeterson.com. It will present you right there with that. Oh my gosh, it's so windy outside. I don't know if you can hear this, but it is so windy outside. I live on Orcas Island, and lo and behold, in the winter, the evergreen trees just get really knocked around because we're out here in the middle of the ocean, well, middle of the Salish Sea, at least. The second announcement is that February 2nd, I will be doing a book release concert in Seattle at the Fremont Abbey, and opening for Britton Ashford. She's a singer-songwriter out of New York City, and I'm so stoked to do this. And we, in fact, have one of our community members, or Bare Naked Bravery community members, joining me for this concert. So if you are in the Seattle area, we would love to see you. It is just going to be a shorter musical set with some book reading spliced in the mix. And then you get to hear Britton and her band perform and close out the evening. It's going to be a really, really fun night. And I would love to see you there if you are in the area or want to make your way to the area. We'd love to have you. Tickets for that are on my website. If you go to emilyannpeterson.com/tickets, the links to that are there for you. Okay, so let me read this quote because it's a big one. Okay, so stop scouring people's faces for evidence that you're not enough. You will always find it because you've made that your goal. Our call to courage is to protect our wild heart against constant evaluation, especially our own. Brené Brown. So I actually pretty strongly disagree with this quote, mainly because if we are not constantly evaluating ourselves, we won't be making progress or growth. I do think there is and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I do think that there's a difference between compassionate evaluation and constant berating evaluation. But in general, this quote, like it is our call to courage, I think, is not to just protect our wild heart against constant evaluation, especially our own. I think our call to courage is to protect our wild heart amidst constant evaluation, especially our own, because first of all, our own constant evaluation is going to be the only thing, like I said, that prompts progress and growth in our lives. If we are not observing ourselves and observing ourselves with a sense of defiant expectation, which has a little bit of that evaluation, we're comparing ourselves currently to what we defiantly expect from ourselves in the future, both or now or in the future, actually. And so if we aren't constantly evaluating ourselves, then that progress is really hard to become accomplished. So that's the main thesis or disagreement that I have with this. I say this also with a very strong background in an eating disorder. So I am very familiar with what it means to have too much constant evaluation, or I should say the berating evaluation. It is how I've seen progress made personally in my own life, but it is also how I have seen judgment wear me down, like self-judgment wear me down. And as an artist or as a creative, if you are constantly comparing yourself in a negative way without that layer of growth or expectation for growth, and just like saying, oh, you'll never make it, that kind of talk, then that's not healthy. That's not going to nurture the kind of growth and bravery that you're going for. However, if you can evaluate yourself or observe yourself or even judge yourself with either an open hand or with this sense of hope within your defiant expectation, it's not just a matter of saying, oh, you're totally not there yet. You're definitely not succeeding yet. If you can say, wow, you really have some room to grow. Wow, you really have some room to grow. There needs to be also alongside that a measure of hope for yourself. So like, wow, you really have a ways to go in order to grow and improve in this one area of your life. So let's look for the ways that we can do that. So it's like, it's not just saying, no, you're failed, but saying you failed and here's how we can improve in the future. And so I think it's an and in the midst of this constant evaluation that we can find this kind of progress. So some of the ways that I experience this as a musician is when I'm trying to improve as an instrumentalist or as a vocalist or as a songwriter even too. When I finish a song or when I finish a repetition of a portion of a song and I think, oh my God, that was the worst thing I've ever done. If I just leave it at that, I'm not going to actually improve at all. Because what happens in your brain if you take everything you just did and say, wow, that was awful, fail, then everything you just completed gets essentially deleted, even the good stuff that you did finish. So let's say you make an attempt to do something, let's say a line of music, and 60% of the line of music was pretty okay, and 40% of it was like absolute total tank fail. If you finish that line of music and say, wow, that was awful, period, what's happening in your brain is you are negating the 60% that went well. And you're also not going the extra mile to identify what exactly about the 40% that failed was the reason why you failed. So and this applies to, let's say, this book launch that I'm going through. There are portions of this book launch that I know are not perfect. Like I am pulling together files at the very last minute to send to people to make sure that these deadlines are going to get met. A lot of it feels like I've got so many deadlines and so many things I need to take care of, which is why I have awesome help. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do without if I didn't have help. But even more so, if I go through this process going, oh my gosh, I'm failing. Oh my gosh, I'm failing. Wow, what a total excuse of an author I am for doing this book launch in this way. If I'm going through it that way, then I'm actually not acknowledging the things that I have done well. And that's the negative part of the constant evaluation about ourselves that I think Brené Brown was referring to. But I don't think we should just get rid of the constant evaluation. I actually think the evaluation is really good. So continuing using this book launch as an example, the way that I can improve or use this constant evaluation to my benefit to nurture growth and progress would be to acknowledge that, oh my gosh, I hired help. That is fantastic. Hiring help was the best thing I could have done. Things are not totally failing because I have help. There may be elements that I want to improve upon, but in general, things are going in the direction that we want them to go. The other thing is that, first of all, when you're trying something brand new, like being brave usually implies that you're trying something new. Being courageous or creative implies that. Also, courage and bravery are synonyms, and then creativity and courage rely on each other in order to continue growing. So anytime you're doing something new for the first time, you don't have anything to compare it to except your standard of excellence inside of yourself. So it is such a good thing to get in the habit of comparing yourself to yourself, even comparing yourself and giving yourself an and after the fail button. After you push the fail button, push the and button. I failed, and here's how I can improve. I failed, and here's how I want to do this next time. That event tanked, and here's how I can improve it again next time. Or, wow, that was a terrible first date. Here's how I never want to do that again. So that constant evaluation is really powerful if we can use it in the right kind of way. And it has a lot to do with what comes after the evaluation. How do you handle yourself and the thing you're evaluating after the evaluation is complete? Because if you're just letting it lie and just evaluating it for the sake of evaluation, that's not doing you or anyone else any good. You're just evaluating. But you have to do something with that evaluation. And more so if you find out that 40% failed, it's not just enough to go 60% was good, 40% was failed. You have to go one step deeper and ask yourself, how has it failed? So like, for instance, let's go back to this book launch example. I'm feeling really behind. Why am I feeling really behind? Well, I'll be honest with you. I needed to take a few days and binge watch some TV. And those days I had planned to do some work. I wasn't able to get the work done because I needed to binge watch some TV, and not even I was tempted to, but I just needed to. My body needed to take that break. But I didn't factor that break into my book launch strategy. So now I'm feeling like I'm a couple days behind. So you can see how now I've got a lot more grace and compassion for myself because I realized, we didn't factor in that break. So now I'm actually not behind. I'm actually on schedule according to the plan that we had mapped out. But the schedule was too short. There was a flaw in the schedule, not me. And that extra layer of constant evaluation is really powerful and really freeing too. It's also very forgiving if you can acknowledge exactly why something didn't go well, especially if you do it with a nurturing mentality rather than a berating, tearing down, destructive mentality. So some ways that you can practice this on your own would be, this is kind of silly, but I did this with some of my baby cello students, actually some of my adult students too. We would put Post-it notes on a big blank wall. And then there's some like strategy about how to do this if you're practicing cello. But in this case, if we're just practicing how to evaluate yourself on a regular basis, you don't have to stand at a certain perpendicular direction. You just need to do this. So Post-it notes on the wall in a couple different places. Those will be your targets. Then you take up tiny little pieces of paper and stand about like maybe 4 to 5 feet away and see if you can throw the pieces of paper and hit the Post-it notes. As you get further and further back, every time you are done throwing the little pieces of paper, you're going to take a couple steps back. When you start missing the targets, that could be immediately or several feet backwards. When you start missing the target, I want you to acknowledge, don't just say, I missed the target. And you have to say this stuff out loud because this is important. Your brain needs to hear the reason why it didn't work or the attempt didn't work. So, which is another great extra layer of this constant evaluation. If you take the little piece of paper, say you missed it, and then out loud you say, I missed it because I didn't throw far enough, or I missed it because I aimed too high, or I missed it because I aimed too low. You can take it one step further and say, I aimed 6 inches too low, right? And give yourself an actual dimensional metric of how it failed. And then stay there and keep attempting that, throwing the little piece of paper and verbally outlining and describing the way that you failed and how you can improve next time. So I missed it because I aimed too low. This time I want to throw 6 inches higher. Try again. Then you throw it again. So that would be a really good exercise if this constant evaluation stuff is hard for you, or you recognize that there is some value in this constant evaluation, but that you know that the way that you're constantly evaluating yourself is kind of mean or not productive, then I would encourage you to practice this skill. So even though you're just dealing with pieces of paper and Post-it notes, practicing the skill of verbalizing the why and the how you can improve, that's just such a fantastic skill to have. So that's my suggestion for you guys. I do just want to say that I really do love Brené Brown. The work that she has put out into the world is fantastic and phenomenal. And honestly, now that my book is coming out, I can finally read her new book because I had postponed reading her new book, Braving the Wilderness, because I didn't want to just regurgitate Brené Brown while I was writing my book. I wanted to have really original content. So now I get to actually read her new book. So if this episode or this concept and subject matter means something to you, I really encourage you to jump into our Bare Naked Bravery community group on Facebook. You can also join our community. You get as a community member, you get a free membership site complete with the 5-day bravery challenge, a bravery bundle with 2 songs, a worksheet, a really awesome worksheet, and the Bare Naked Bravery coloring book in PDF format. And then also in our membership site, we have all of the book bonuses too, which are very exciting. They may not all make sense right now if you haven't read the book, but when you do read the book, it will definitely make sense. And some of them will be kind of funny. So little Easter eggs in there for you. So if this stuff means something to you, then I encourage you to drop into our community, become a member, drop into our community on Facebook and tell us why and how this has meant something to you, or this specific subject has meant something to you. And even more so, if you try this like Post-it note, throw it at the target practice, I want to hear about it because I want to see and hear how it goes without it being in the midst of a musical environment. Because that's the only time I've done that exercise is when I'm trying to teach someone how to have a fluid, natural bow hold bowing arm. So irrelevant if you don't care about that kind of stuff. So the book is coming out January 28th. So excited about it. If you are too, I want you in on the free book action, and you'll be on the list to get all of the details when all of it releases on the 28th. And I would love to see you in February 2nd at the Fremont Abbey for the book release concert. It's going to be really, 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 really fun. So with that, I want you to know that we really do need your bravery. We need everything that you have to offer the world, because you have a calling. You have people in the world that need you to be brave. And bravery implies that we need your vulnerability, we need your imagination, we need your improvisation, because we really do need your bare naked bravery.